Some explosive moves today across the indexes. S&P up 1.4%, Nasdaq up over 3%. We're going to be taking a look at those. We're going to be taking a look also at the Dow, the Russell 2000. We're also going to be taking a look here at the dollar. We have an exciting episode ahead of us. We're going to be looking at gold, silver, and Bitcoin on the breakout over here. We're also going to be looking at some interesting charts. We have a really exciting session ahead of us. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. I'm looking forward to sharing this time with you here right now. We're going to start off with the S&P 500. We're actually going to be answering some questions about what is next. And why I say that is because on Friday over here, that's when I thought everyone was exiting this trade over here. Let me go ahead and get this a little bit darker here as we're about to get into some flow over here. And I'm about to go ahead and break this down as best as I can for you. That's where everyone should have got flat right now on the S&P 500, right? Did we peak out into any resistance over here today? No, we did not. However, look over here at the true trend. We have been overbought here for a very extended period of time over here. We're looking for a pullback here on the entry CCI. That pullback is going to say that price is no longer overbought in this uptrend. It's giving us an opportunity to go ahead and re-engage the position with a better risk to reward on it. All right, so did we take profits a little bit too early? Perhaps. Nevertheless, it was a 3.4% gain over there. Not bad for a week's work over there. Great trade. You know what? Sometimes, and going into the weekend like that, I think it was the right thing to do. We did talk about the fact that it was the possibility that they could continue to fly from here. It did. However, what are we looking for right now? We're just waiting for that pullback. We also have had quite a few sessions here. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 up price bars in a row. Obviously, abnormal price behavior. We're waiting for that pullback. Right now, it's over here. I'm going to go ahead and move this line of support over here up for you. I'm going to move it over to right about here. Right in this area over here, this area of a little bit of supply. We're going to be looking for a pullback either into that horizontal area of local support. It's not a big level by any means, but we are focused on this trend line over here. That's really what we're looking at, and that's what we could lean into if we do get that pullback. All right, what else? On the Nasdaq, right? On the Nasdaq, it was a little bit of a different story. We were looking to push that this morning over here into the resistance. I said this is when I would exit the trade. A lot of you obviously didn't exit to this afternoon. I'm seeing that across the Telegram group. Was it a bad exit on my part? Was it a bad exit on my part? Obviously, it was premature, right? That's something to consider over here. Still, you're talking about 5% gain. Not bad, but always want to look to improve. Always be looking to improve. What did I do wrong? What could have been better? Was it smart exiting before you at least had a lower low on the 8-hour time frame? Questions that need to be asked, but for a different day. Right now, we're looking at what's next. By the way, you could see that we peaked out into the resistance over here. If you follow my mouse over, you could see that's also a little bit of resistance over there. Let's draw that in. That's important for us. All right. Is it a big level? I know, not such a big level over here. Look, if you look at the true trend over here, you could see also this massive overbought, right? Here, the entry CCI, the blue line, has been overbought here for an extended period of time. You see the trend CCI is way overbought. It makes sense over here to wait for a breather. Being in a position of strength right now, after a nice week on the indexes, right? We were able to navigate this extraordinarily well. Right? Do we pay attention to volume? No, I do not consult volume as an indicator when I'm looking to trade. I follow price. I follow price off of the market structure of support and resistance with the help of trend lines and chart patterns. It is these chart patterns, by the way, over here, this channel over here. It was that chart pattern on the S&P 500. It was this descending wedge. It was these chart patterns that led towards these trades that we did take. Excuse me. What's next is we're in a strong position of the sidelines, waiting, watching, and we will pick our next entry. There's no rush to get into that trade. There's no rush to get into that trade. Today was a beautiful Friday, also profit-taking day. If you look at the Dow, you could see that we're into that resistance, that horizontal resistance that we had over here, but also this channel resistance, right? So what does that say to you? And over here, look, that little bit better, not as overbought, but it is overbought in an uptrend, overbought in an uptrend. That's the worst place to ever buy, by the way. That is why a lot of people chase price. They wind up buying, and then the trade goes immediately against them. We need to wait, right? And on the Dow over here, unless we break above this resistance over here, is it possible that we break above that resistance? Is it possible that we come and test all-time highs pretty soon on the Dow? It's looking like it, right? But getting above this resistance over here, looking over above there, might be a place to look to attack. Right now, it's going to be leaning into a pullback into this trend line over here. I'll clean that up tomorrow morning. That means wait. That means patience. A pullback into that trend line over here, that might lead for the next entry. However, so far, right, the Dow has not been exciting. It has been the S&P and the Nasdaq that has been giving the trades. What about the Russell? Let me go over and pull up the Russell with you. Look at that. By the way, another index into resistance. So we have a few. The S&P is not into resistance right over here, okay? The S&P is not really into resistance. I'm marking that up right around the all-time high. So you have at the all-time high horizontal resistance with this trend line resistance. However, you do have the Nasdaq into resistance here, right? You do have the Dow into resistance here, and you also have the Russell into resistance over here. What does that mean? Well, it certainly means to me that any type of pullback at this point would be healthy. All right. So that is, before we get into the dollar, I want to go over some things with you. Before we get into the dollar, I want to look at some exciting things with you. Today, by the way, is the first time in history that the SPY gapped up at least 0.25% at the open and added at least 0.25% from the open to close for 4 straight days. Now, take a look at this. The green mark here is every time that the SPY has done that for 3 straight days. This was the first time ever for 4 straight days, but these are 3 straight days, the green mark. It's a very bullish event. Why do I say that? Because every time it has happened in the past, afterwards, right, in the near-term future, you saw higher prices. Every single time it happened, with the exception of this area right over here, there was a slight pullback before we started going up. That seems to me to be a very bullish indication over there. I talked about, and I have been talking about over here, you see the Nasdaq up 3% today, over 3% today. I have been saying last week, and I pointed out how many people were short, right? How many non-commercial specs were short here on the Nasdaq, and I said that they were going to have to cover because they were on the wrong side of the trade. Why did I say they were on the wrong side of the trade? Simple. We were following price. We were simply following price. Here they go. They had to cover today. Let's see what that looks like later in the week. Also, you also had, not only that, you had another dealer gamma short also looking for covering today. This caused a massive melt up in the Nasdaq. Is it done? Is it done? Let's look at some other things over there. There, by the way, is that chart for those looking for it. You could find that on Zero Hedge today on the article, Nasdaq explodes higher, right? What else are we looking at over here? This is what I wanted to show you over here, by the way. As we look at total assets of major central banks, you have the Fed, the Federal Reserve, the ECB, the Bank of Japan, and the People's Bank of China over here. And you could just see together massive increases here on total central bank assets. Look at this over here. And what happens? What happens with liquidity? Right? Why are the markets rising? You had over here Mohammed Elron saying this morning that, look, the markets are just going to keep going up, right? Whether you agree with that or not, that's fine. At the end of the day, I'm following price. But I have been saying ever since QE started that it is hyperinflationary for assets. Fed is QE, stocks go up. Over here, he could say that you could come up with any narrative you want to explain the 90, but it's catalyzed by the $90 trillion in total central bank liquidity. Speaking of liquidity, Stanley Druckenmiller over here, one of his famous quotes over here, he said, earnings don't move the overall market. It's the Federal Reserve Board. Focus on the central banks and focus on the movement of liquidity. Most people in the market are looking for earnings and conventional measures. It's liquidity that moves markets. Speaking of massive liquidity, speaking of signal and what's to come, that's why we're seeing stocks rise here, obviously not reflective of the economy. Are they looking for further stimulus? Is that what the markets are riding on? Or is it more about what Mohammed Elran says over here? You can make up whatever narrative you want. What explains it is the $90 trillion in central bank liquidity. I don't know, but I do know that if you're short the markets, you've been on the wrong side. We don't short markets in uptrends. We look to buy off support in uptrends. We look to sell off of resistance in downtrends. And if over here, when the opportunity arises to look to attack to the downside, we will be there. But right now, let's keep everyone on the right side of the trade. Just because stocks came into resistance, is that a place to look to go short? Absolutely not. You have a huge wave of momentum going one way. You have a huge wave of momentum going one way, trying to surf against the momentum. You could get lucky, right? If you sold the top over here and but that's not the trade you're looking for. That was the trade you were looking for, right? All right. Let's talk about the dollar for a little while over here. Dollar remains very weak over here. There's a couple of things that are changing here in the DXY this week that I want to watch for. By the way, the dollar trades off of what? Liquidity. Remember back over here? Do you remember, if I go back a little bit with you, let me pull up a 12-hour chart, right? You remember when we were having liquidity problems that started, right? Back in September when the repo market started having problems and the Fed started injecting billions of dollars every day over there. This culminated over here, right? And then what happened? The Fed, right over there, the Fed added a bunch of liquidity. What has happened since? DXY is trading down, under pressure. What's happening? Is more liquidity coming, or is the central bank, is the Federal Reserve getting ready to remove liquidity from the markets? Are there any signs of any type of liquidity problems in the markets, right? Being long dollars right now is a counter trend trade. It makes no sense. We're going to follow what would make us change our mind over here just from a TA perspective. We were watching last week the 94 level, getting above 94. We would say, all right, now we're looking for a further strengthening of the dollar here on a counter trend trade. What about right now? That changes. I'm going to go ahead over here and I'm going to move this 93.38, that resistance, that support, right, that took it out, now is resistance. I'm going to move that up a little bit over here. I'm moving this up on the upside. This trend line is what I'm focusing on. As long as this holds over here, as long as price stays below that trend line, we will extend it down over here right now, right? And above this 93, back to 93.50 now. As long as we stay above that level, we're looking for further dollar weakness. If we break down over here, we're targeting over here around 92.26 in that area. This support over here, this was resistance turned support. We're looking for, if price falls out of this channel, to test this area of support. If we break that, we're looking to challenge and perhaps make a new yearly low. On the upside, what we're looking for this week is if price trades above this area, 93.50, breaking out of this trend line and gets above the 93.50 resistance over here. At that point, we're going to be looking for some counter trend trades over here. We're going to be targeting this area over here between 94 and this resistance coming in, this trend line resistance, and I'll be assuming that we're going to break out above that, and that's what we're going to be targeting. So that's what we're watching for. That's not the base case. That's the possibility. What will happen to gold and silver if that were to occur? Well, obviously, right now we're seeing such a tight inverse correlation between the dollar and the metals that we would see further weakness. But that's not our base case. Remember, our base case is us coming down to test this area of support. We could only follow what's going on and trade what's in front of you on gold. What does that mean over here? Look, let me come back to the 8-hour to show you what's going on over here. We were looking and watching this trend line over here for the bullish breakout, which has occurred, right? And that took us into what? The first area of resistance, expected pullback. We're looking for a resumption off over here for an entry here. Now that could come, right? That could come overnight over here easily. Or we could get a further retest into this area of that breakout, that broken trend line, see if it's confirmed as support, also 1904 horizontal support. That also a resumption off of that opens up a very good opportunity here after that trend line break. Very bullish price action occurring over here. Don't pay attention to what happened here in the metals today. That's what we were looking for. Breakout, retest, resumption. It's happening. If we break down below this trend line over here, below the 1904 support, that was a failed breakout. And then we could see a lot of pressure over here as people that went long too soon will have to cover. And then we'll assess that as that unfolds. Right now, we're looking to play this breakout over here as we're having a retest and a resumption off of it. Silver, I'm still standing aside. Look, very healthy, getting back above the 2450 resistance area. Now that is becoming support, very healthy. Looking for a breakout of the trend line still, and also looking to get above the $26 resistance. Remember, gold leads and then silver plays catch up. All right, so if we get above 26 over here, that makes getting long silver on a retest and a resumption a lot more comfortable and higher probability trade. Right now, you should just be observing, watching, and waiting on silver. Bitcoin over here, beautiful. Someone this morning in the live stream pointed out that nice little bull flag. Everyone who's watching knows that we were looking for the breakout over here, right? This was Thursday evening's update, and I told you it looks like Bitcoin's getting ready to break out. Over here, then we broke out of that trend line. Not only that, we came into the resistance, resumed out of that, breakout confirmed above that trend line, and has since came into that, someone pointed out this morning, into this bull flag, broken out to the upside, and has reclaimed, or it looks like it's trying to reclaim this trend line over here to the upside. The next move from here is coming out towards the challenge, the last swing high, the yearly high set in the middle of August, and not only test it, but I believe obviously going a lot further than that right now. What else is there to look at today? I think that's it. That's really what I wanted to get you. So I'm going to just resum this up. I'm going to go ahead and review what's important here. Equity markets right now, sidelines, waiting. We'll look at that again tomorrow. And until there's an entry, right? You just took profit, whether it was Friday or on the Nasdaq this morning, or this afternoon. Some of you pushed it longer than I did. Good job. I really feel like it was a poor exit on my part on the Nasdaq, not on the S&P. Excellent exit on the S&P. Either which way, that's what we learned from. So all the indexes right now, sidelines, waiting. That's a position of power. What about gold? Waiting, looking for that resumption. That could be a trade that actually triggers tonight. That's one to watch out for and look for. That is where you should be focused. Silver, we're waiting. Dollar, we know exactly what's going on, and we feel comfortable about that. Bitcoin over here, looking good, right? Do you go ahead and trade over here now on Bitcoin, buying over here? If you're accumulating, of course. If you're dollar cost averaging, of course. I've said it, and I'll continue to say it. Whether you're looking at 10,500, whether you're looking at 12,000 or $9,000 cost averaging Bitcoin, to me, it's all cheap right now. However, right, let's see what happens. If you're able to get above this little bit of resistance that we're at right now, that trend line, if we're able to confirm that as support, that's going to be a good swing trade into Bitcoin. I don't believe people should be swing trading Bitcoin. I believe that people should be positioning themselves in trading around the halving cycle over here during this bull market phase. I believe people will be much better off focusing on the currency markets, which trade technically beautiful, much easier to swing trade and make a good amount of money from. All right, everyone. I'll see you all in the morning. Have a beautiful day, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon.